Mister, I have not begun to project my anger onto you.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Mando, from guitarist for Las Cruces, Doom Band USA.
And when you say doom, what do you mean by doom?
Oh man, a lot of facets to that, right? Well, the genre is in this genre, I guess, when we started, the band started in 94. George started the band, and we love that genre. He started the band and we followed suit with a lot of influences ranging from Sabbath first, I'm sure. And then I can speak for George, I'm sure, saying that. And then many influences that range from Sabbath to maybe, of course, Trouble and everything in between, It's a broad genre too, where you can say, doom metal, for instance, because I'd say we fit more in that category.
Would you say that Las Cruces is molded more to a classic doom style? I mean, you mentioned Sabbath and Trouble. Would you say that you have more of like a classic metal influence?
That was more prevalent in the first two albums for sure. I think when I joined and Paul joined, Paul Deleon, the drummer, and myself joined in 2000. We joined at the same time, and we both we brought more of an Iron Maiden kind of Rush vibe to the take, if you will. But it still has that classic Las Cruces sound, but we've kind of grown writing wise and broadened our writing perspective, Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's been like that for the last couple of writing sessions, of course, before my drummer passed away, unfortunately.
So you mentioned that the band was formed by George, your guitarist, George Trevino.
Yes.
Would you mind just giving a little bit of background for the early years of the band leading up to when you joined in 2000?
Absolutely. As far as I can remember, I remember these guys. I was playing in another local band at that time, and we'd offered, Las Cruces was a new band at that point. This was about 93, 94. I want to say like 94 maybe. And we would do instantly. I saw their potential. I heard it, and I knew the guys in the band. I knew George for a long time as well. So we hit it off even back then. And that was different drummer back then. I can't remember the guy's name, but anyhow, it was Mark Zamaron on vocals, George Trevino on guitar, and Mark Lopez on guitar. And then Mark was playing bass, I believe, on that first record. But then, of course, came Ringmaster, and that one blew everybody away. I mean, here I was, in another band, and we would do shows together. But when they released Ringmaster, I heard SOL, and I was like, hey, man, this is good. The recording was great, and you could tell it was, really professionally done, and they were a great band. But when Ringmaster came out again, it just blew everybody away. It was just one of those instant classics that you had. It was like, holy shit, man. I was like, I need to be in that band, So it was awesome, man. It was great seeing my friends make such heavy music, and I was honored to be asked to join them. They hit the road right after Ringmaster was released, and they asked me to go on the road with them. Unfortunately, I couldn't go at that time. I had prior commitments with the band I was in, so I could not leave. And then a couple of years later, they asked me again in 2000. It came around, and they asked me in 2000 if I would be interested in joining the band. And I second chances don't come around often, so I was all about that, right? So yeah, I agreed, and we started writing immediately and recording immediately as well. I think we did this thing called The Lowest End. It was an EP. I think it was in early 2000, maybe 2001, because I know we played a show not till later. It wasn't till later. The band had a lot of ups and downs. I want to say we didn't completely get back together. There's a long kind of story about that, which I'm kind of leading up to, but when I joined, we wrote and recorded The Lowest End, which was a couple of songs that had already been recorded for some Italian label, I believe. I don't remember how it went down. Anyhow, those were re-released as an EP called The Lowest End. Anyhow, the band kind of split up around 2002. I couldn't tell you who left first or what happened, but everybody kind of just, went back to life, work and whatnot. Right. And about 2004, I got a call from George, and he wanted to put the band back together. Actually, it wasn't even, we started jamming on covers, and that's how that started. We were playing covers, a bunch of old, new wave British metal stuff. We made about 5 songs. I was like, let's just write like 5 more and finish this record, try and find somebody to put it out. And we hired Marilyn on bass, and then Paul was already with us from before. So it was a no-brainer to get him on the fold. So we wrote Dusk, and we played some festival up in Dallas, and John Pettis saw that we were still functioning, or I think he thought we were, defunct or broke up or whatever. But he was like, hey, dude, I got, those new songs sound great. Let's put that out. And we were all about that too. So, that was also a no-brainer. And shoot, yeah, man, we had a good time, man. Those were good times. We met a lot of friends. We were playing a lot of shows. It was, again, a great time, After that, we kept going. Actually, the record, we agreed to do the record. And that's when Mark decided to leave the band. We were just going to release the record, and he decided to quit, which was very unfortunate for us. So yeah, that kind of sucked. And then put our heads together. Paul said, just show up to practice like normal. And it worked out. Paul started singing for us for a while, and then that we did a lot of shows like that. And we were supporting Dusk that way as a 4-piece with Paul singing, which was kind of weird, but it worked, it worked. And a lot of people were glad to see us when we went to the East Coast and the Midwest. We did some shows out there and trying to support that record as best we could,
Did you know that Paul could sing?
I did, actually. I did know that. He sang for a band called Chosen Fate here in town many years in the early 90s and the late 80s. And a band I had around that time would do some shows with that band. And of course we would do covers when we were doing the covers at his house. His house was our HQ. We wrote and recorded a lot of demos and a lot of ideas there. We structured all of our songs there at his place, and or at least the Dusk album end up, but those were some good times. And I did know he could sing. He was a great singer, and he did the demos for the recent album for Cosmic Tears.
So I'd like to backtrack just a little bit. Las Cruces aren't just a USA doom band, but a Texas doom band. You guys are based in San Antonio.
That's correct.
Can you tell me a little bit what the scene was like around the time of your early albums?
Oh, man, there was really nobody doing that. There was nobody. Now there's like more than a handful of people doing doom or that style of heavy sounds now. But at that time in '94, there was Las Cruces was, stood out alone and, in this South Texas. And there wasn't, I really couldn't name more than Las Cruces, to be honest, I was kind of I don't want to say envious, but I was like, why am I not in that band? Right. But yeah, I mean, they were doing it, man, and they did it well, I still say that, like if I'm not in the band anymore, but at that time I wasn't, and that's what it was seeing stuff from, like the grass is greener in a way, but it was, it was just heavy doom, man. And it was good rock too. Cause it wasn't just doom. It was, they have an essence about them that was like, I don't want to say Southern rock, man, but they had something about them that was fucking definitely South Texas, dude, and that's the shit that appealed to me. I mean, they were my friends. I knew these dudes and when we partied together, so that's what brought us together was the music and just our lifestyle, really, At that point, the mid to late 90s, there were some doom metal bands around. It definitely wasn't what it is now. Correct.
One of the bands that you guys had a close relationship with was Solitude Eternus.
That's correct. John Pettis helped us out in a big way, man. In the early days, I don't know exactly how how all that went down, but I just know that he was there to, give him a deal and put that music out for him, which is a big thing. All of us were looking for that at that time. Anybody in a band, that's like the gold, the brass ring, right? So, we were all looking for that, but they had it and they had that sound that nobody else had in Texas or at that time, besides like Solitude, right? That was some really, epic sounds, right? But these dudes had it, and John heard it, man, immediately, and he believed in that band, and he put out the first 3 records. The first 2, of course, SOL and Ringmaster. Ringmaster again is still classic. That I'm still amazed when I hear that album, those recordings are classic, and just to be a part of that, is an honor, right? And continue that vibe and still try to to expand our vision of the music. I'm all about that, and we're still trying to keep that flame alive.
Around the time you joined, I think the genre really started to branch out and expand. I think that was around the time that Electric Wizard released Dope Throne.
Yeah,
and Lee Dorian's label Rise Above was releasing a lot of doom metal bands from England, and it was also around the time that people really started to, they'd already broken up at that point, but people really started to get hip to what Sleep had done a few years prior.
Right.
Were you noticing what was going on either around the U.S. or around the world and realizing that there were a lot of like minds?
Yeah, absolutely. When we played a festival in like Well, in the late '90s, right? I knew that was happening. It was, it was definitely going on. Even bands like Typo were more on the mainstream, but they had a heavy doom sound, and it was broadening. That was more mainstream, man. But yeah, I could definitely feel and catch that vibe that it was the next wave of the heavy, And I don't want to say it, because it was weird because I saw a lot of younger guys, they were not only were we getting older, of course, but these guys were, young, man. They were in school and they were into some, Electric Wizard, right? And Sleep and all that shit, man. It was like, these guys were young, man. And I was like, holy shit, I thought they'd be into like all the rap that's out there or whatever the thing was, the new thing, but they were into some fucking doom, man. It's heavy.
So let's talk about this latest album. It's called Cosmic Tears, and it will be released on June 3rd of this year through Ripple Music.
Yep.
Who is the lineup on this album?
Okay, so towards the end of when Dusk was being released, we hired our friend Jimmy Bell on bass. We had to part ways with our bass player at the time, Marilyn, and then we're still friends with, of course, but we hired Jimmy Bell. We started writing immediately as Dusk was being released. George and I started, like, we were both on the same trip. Like, we need to start writing right now, you know? And we did. We wrote I think we wrote like Egypt First was like one of the first ones. Altar of the Seven Sorrows was another one. And that was going to be the title for the album, to be honest, it was going to be called Altar of the Seven Sorrows. And damn, isn't that a mouthful? So we were like, nah, man, we better go with something else, you know? So yeah, we kind of shortened it down to Cosmic Tears, since that one kind of stuck out. That song was something apart that we'd never really written like that before. And
guitar wise, it's you and George as usual.
Yes, I got off track again, as I will obviously do throughout this interview. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's George Trevino on guitar, myself on guitar, Jimmy Bell on bass, Paul Deleon on drums, and Jason Kane on vocals.
And how did Jason get involved with this?
That was a weird one. We met Jason, I guess 2016, maybe 2015. I don't remember. He was like about 17 years old when we met the guy. And I had no idea he could sing. You know, the next thing I know, I get a message from this guy. He's like, hey man, you know anybody looking for a vocalist? You know any bands looking for a vocalist? And I was like, we were always looking for a vocalist ever since Mark left, you know, and when Paul took over, it was fortunate for us that he could sing and carry that tour. But again, we were always looking for a frontman, you know? So when Jason asked me that, I was like, well, what can you send me? I've never heard you. I didn't even know you could sing, dude. You know, so it was a mind blowing that when I heard his voice, or when I heard him singing for the first time, it was almost like immediate. Like I was like, wow, we got to bring this guy in and try out these songs, or, you know, start working with this cat, or, you know, something like that. So to me, it was immediate. I was like, we got to get this guy in here and demo these tunes. And as soon as we brought him in the fold, we were already kind of recording Cosmic Tears over with Mike T in Dallas. So when we brought up Jason up there, we left those guys, you know, we left them alone to do their thing. And I came back, and Mike T looks back at me and he's like, dude, where'd you find this dude, man? So that was really good to hear, you know. And when we heard the playbacks, you know, it was awesome. We were all, you know, pretty stoked what we heard. And it was pretty much, that was it, man.
He has kind of like a classic Dio sort of vibe to him.
He does, yes. Check this out. I kind of heard, and he gets pissed. He used to get pissed when I used to tell him this, but I used to tell him he kind of sounded like an early Lou Gramm from Foreigner. On some of the parts he rocks out, right? You know, when Lou Gramm rocks out, he goes, no, dude, not the I want to know what love is guy, right? So I was like, yeah, that guy, but the heavier shit, man, you know? And so it was a laugh. We had a laugh about that one. So I was just going to compliment and say that too, that he definitely has a Dio, or like a young Dio vibe to him.
So this album's had a long road to completion. As you mentioned, you started working on it soon after Dusk came out.
Yeah.
And you actually started recording this back in 2019. Is that correct?
Yes. I want to say it was earlier than that, but we had some falling outs, man. When Jason joined the fold, it wasn't so accepted within our ranks, you know. Paul being the singer at that time, he was already kind of, you know, had his hopes up of being the singer, but we had already agreed that, you know, we were looking for a frontman. And when we found this guy, there were a lot of obstacles that other singers couldn't. There were hurdles that other singers couldn't leap, and this guy leapt those hurdles with ease, right? And it was a no-brainer for me to hire this guy, right? So it was a little rough at first, but when we all got together and talked about it, it was about the music. And we said, we all agreed that, yeah, Jason's going to be the guy on the record.
And when you say hurdles, do you mean performance-wise, as far as like hitting notes and things like that?
So stuff that Mark sang before, like, of course we have to play our other, or stuff from the rest of our discography, right? But they'd like, when we have people that would try out, they couldn't hit certain notes on certain songs, and this guy leapt over those hurdles with ease, right?
Right on. Can you tell me a little bit about the recording process, where you actually recorded the album?
Yeah, absolutely. We did our work with Mike T that did Ring Master. We'd been wanting to work with Mike on Dusk, but unfortunately we didn't have a contact for Mike at that time, and we were very ready to get those songs recorded. We should have taken our time, which is not like it sounds great. I've listened to that record recently, and it sounds great. Bat Lord from Igniter, he recorded that up in Austin for us, and that was great. But we had always been wanting to work with Mike T, and to get that opportunity again was awesome. He mastered Dusk, I believe, and that was the first time I had ever worked with him. And he even asked me, like, well, why didn't you guys get a hold of me? And I was like, dude, we didn't have a contact. Anyway, he worked on this one. It was great, man. We did that up in Dallas we recorded all the basic tracks at this place called Rocket Lab Studios in Dallas. I want to say it was in Deep Ellum. And we had a good time doing those tracks. I believe it snowed. We got snowed in too for a day or so. We had to cancel the first day, I think, of recording. But yeah, we knocked out the basic tracks in the first 2 days. And then I think we came back the next weekend to do all the overdubs, to lay additional guitars and leads, solos and harmonies and everything. But yeah, that kind of sat on a shelf after we did that. The next session, the second session, everybody got back to work. We needed money. We didn't have money to finish recording. I want to say that we'd already talked with Ripple about doing a deal before that. I can't remember, but I know we played a show up in Dallas at this place called the Boiler Room, which is weird because it's on the corner of a street called Elm Street, and it's the Boiler Room. So if you're a Freddy Krueger fan, you'll get that. Anyway, we did a showcase for Ripple, and Todd and company were there, and that was our first meeting, our first in-person meeting, and it was a good time, man. They loved what they heard, and they wanted to sign us, and that also sat for a while. Las Cruces, man, I used to tell people Las Cruces moves at a snail's pace, man, and we're definitely doomed in that sense, right? It's slow. So I don't know, man, but it took a while to get all that done. And again, when we finally got done recording all the music, it was time for vocals. And then we were having arguments about who was going to sing, because Paul was used to singing and we just hired a new guy that was going to take his place. And it was a kind of divide in the camp, so to speak. But we got over it kind of quick. It took a while, man. Jason, we had to get rid of Jason. Mark came back for a little while, and then that didn't go anywhere, which again was not good, a waste of time. He's a great guy, but again, nothing was done. It didn't really, transition. There wasn't a big transition there. So again, it sat for a while, and then Paul and I talked, and we're like, what are we doing, man? Let's, we got a great album. Jason's on it. Sounds great. We just said, let's do it. Let's get Jason, will Jason be willing to join the band again? And of course he was like, yes. So I think I talked to Todd emailed Todd and was like, dude, have you heard the rest of the record? Because I think I only showed him like 3 songs or something. And then I sent him the rest, and we were both like, holy shit, we need to put this out. So I think our deal was, again, valid. So having that record out, putting that record out was, to me, when I heard the tapes after everything was done, I knew it was a good record and needed to be put out. And I was just glad that everybody at Ripple heard the same thing and believed in this album like we did.
The serpent rises.
Music-wise, how would you compare Cosmic Tears to the previous Las Cruces albums?
Oh man, on this one we took some steps to not follow. I mean, there are some doom tracks definitely, but we took some liberties. It's going to our inspirations, man. There's a lot. When I hear the new record, I hear a lot of Iron Maiden as far as the songwriting goes. Early Killers, Number of the Beast, but it's all about our influences. Again, we come from different, George is a heavy doom dude. George loves Sabbath, man. George loves a lot of, heavy stuff. He loves a lot of 80s metal, but as all of us did, right? But we also come from that 70s, kind of Rush vibe and, Maiden and Saxon and all of the new wave of British metal, that stuff goes, we all have that as our common denominator, and that's what brought us together. Yeah, that's what we were all into. So as far as what differs from the rest of the records is that I think it was more doom oriented in the beginning, and which is still is on this album, where there's a definite heavy doom tracks on this record. And I'm proud to say that we wrote some really heavy doom, and they're more of the B-sides, if you will, but it's brutally brutal. And I'm very proud of this album, being that it's the last record I wrote with my one of my best friends, Paul Deleon. He did such an amazing record. I listened to his takes, and they're amazing. He does some, I can hear all of his influences in there, but it's him, it's Paul Deleon, and he did such a fucking great job, No, I was just very happy with everybody's job on the recording. This is one record that, like, I'm very proud of the last one too, but it's like they say, they're all your children, right? You can't have a favorite, but this is the current one, and this one's shining, man. And it feels good, dude. It feels really good that we're able to share this one with everyone,
Yeah. I mean, I definitely hear the new wave of British heavy metal influence. The album reminds me a lot of like classic early doom, like Candlemass or Trouble, who you mentioned, where, it was kind of bridging the divide between like classic Sabbath doom and like the twin guitar melodies of the early British heavy metal bands.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you nailed that. Yeah, that's definitely there. George brings that edge, man. And I hear those recordings, and I hear the Ringmaster and the SOL, and I can hear George's guitar and his tone in there, and it's like, it's in his hands, dude. The tones in his fingers, dude. I can hear that. And, so I'm very, very honored to be a part of this, this legacy, if you will, right? We're carrying on that torch. I want to keep it going.
What does keeping the band going entail?
Oh man, well, the drive, just the love of music, the love of the instrument, the love of my music, my co-musicians, I couldn't do it. We couldn't do it without each other, man, and the love of the music alone is just what drives us. We, of course, we all need to return to, our bills and stuff, right? Unfortunately. But I mean, that's our release, man. That's what gets us back into the writing room, or the drawing board, if you will, right? And the stress of life, dude, I'm writing about whatever's going on in life right now, and right now there's a lot of shit going on, it's not a really happy place right now, unfortunately, it sucks. But man, that's as a musician, as a guitar player, I love my instrument, and I can feel that about my co-musicians. Everybody in the band, I know they take care of their instruments, and they love what they do. And I love that. I love playing with musicians like that care about that. And they're passionate about their instrument. That's a good thing. And that's what that's what's going to keep me going, man. I think I'll pick it up and just want to play just because. Of course, sometimes after, like we all have tragedies, and there's a lot of that going around right now. But we got to find an outlet to do something creative and not keep the sad in. We got to, be who we are, and then carry on, man.
Would you say Las Cruces is an outlet that you need in your life?
I would definitely say that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely, for sure. I've been doing it with these guys. We've been doing this together for over 20 years, man. And it feels great. It's a bit bittersweet, with this release and the tragedy we did have with the loss of, our drummer, but he would want us to continue, man. If this, this record means everything to us, means everything to me. And we got to share it with everybody,
So Las Cruces had kind of a rocky history in terms of stopping and starting at a time when there wasn't really a huge audience for doom metal, but moving past that and to the present day where now there is a huge audience for this and there are labels dedicated entirely to this kind of music and, festivals just for doom metal. There are a lot of bands that you guys can tour with, can play with, who are all like, within a similar mindset.
Yeah.
What would you say as somewhat elder statesman for doom metal, what would you say your legacy would be? What do you think like a lot of like the younger listeners who are coming to your music take away from it?
What do they take away, or what do they what's the question really? I don't get that.
Yeah, I didn't phrase it very well. Well, let's start with let's take it piece by piece. I mean, there's a huge audience now that you guys didn't have back in the day.
Correct. There are a lot of younger doom guys out there, man. Like I was saying, there are some dudes out there that I mean, of course it all starts with Sabbath, right? That's like the fucking, that's the casting, but geez, I mean, it's come such a long way that now it's like, I don't want to say household shit, but it's still very underground, man. And I'm happy that it is. But at the same time, you have these connoisseurs of heavy, they want to hear what the next heavy is, or they want to, or it just in general, they hear a riff somewhere and they're attracted to it and they're gravitated to it. And that's where it is right now. Pardon my dog, man. Sharky's on the patrol right now. So,
no worries.
But yeah, man, it's really, I'm amazed that the younger generation still, carrying that torch, man. And I'm not really, how can I say, I'm not worried, right? It's going to be heavy, right? If I look, say like in another, 20 years or something, if I'm still around in the next 20, 10, whatever, and I look back and if we're still, relevant and there's people still listening to our tunes, and then I'm going to be like, yeah, man, killer. That's what we wanted. That's what it's about. Just getting out there and hopefully somebody can relate to our sounds, right? And the words and music, And
as far as the legacy of the band, the band has been around in some form since 1994, so almost 30 years. What would you say that your legacy is or will be?
Man, just to keep carrying on, man. Keep doing what you love, and that's our kind of like, it's about the music. And if you love the music and if you love what you play, share it with somebody. There's a lot of dark times. And those, unfortunately, it's like that. That's life. But music is always a beacon, man. Music will always be a beacon for me. And, I want to say the rest of my band, that's what brings us together. And it's a brotherhood, man, and it's life, man. All right.
So by the time people hear this podcast, Cosmic Tears will be out through Ripple Music.
Yep.
Mando?
Yep.
How can people order the album? What's the best way to get it?
Well, the best way, man, is through Ripple Bandcamp, man. They support so many bands, worldwide, and it's a beautiful thing. Ripple Music Bandcamp, check that out and order your copy of Cosmic Tears there, man. And
do you want to say anything about the vinyl editions that Ripple is putting out? I'm not sure if they're actually going to be around when people hear this. They might all be sold out, But do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I think great. The numbers, I think we're almost sold out. I'm not sure, but if you haven't got your copy yet, pick one up, man, because they are going fast. They're a beautiful addition. The colored vinyl, I've seen them. They look beautiful. All the inserts, all the, color pictures. It's a complete tribute to our drummer, Paul Deleon, man. And I'm just so happy that this record's coming out. And thank you to Ripple. Thank you to everybody at Ripple. And it's a beautiful thing. Thank you guys.
And with the long road that this album has had, how does it feel to finally have it out?
Feels amazing, dude. It was a very long road, man, and a lot of worries, a lot of uncertainties, but still a lot of beliefs, right? It's a lot of beliefs, man, that this record needs to come out. And I'm glad that we weren't alone with that belief, right? And shit, yeah, man, kick ass. Cheers to Cosmic Tears.
And if people want to follow Las Cruces online, what's the best way to keep up with you guys?
I would say on Facebook, we have a Facebook on Las Cruces Facebook, whatever. You can find us there. Of course, you got to look up Las Cruces like a band, not because then otherwise you'll find Las Cruces City Hall or something. Or you can find us. We also have a website called LasCrucesDoom.com, and we have an Instagram as well. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube. I think we have a Las Cruces channel on YouTube.
Speaking of channels, you have your own personal Twitch channel, right?
I do. Yeah, I do. And then we go over I doodle around, joke off, tell jokes, make fun. But yeah, it's a personal entertainment. I go over some Las Cruces stuff for, my previous bands or whatever, other bands that, projects I'm working on currently and past or whatever. So you can check that out. I'm on that Twitch under Mando Tovar, I believe.
Excellent. Is there anything else you want to say?
Hey, thanks for having us, man. Thanks for sharing, believing in this album, and thanks for checking us out. Kick ass. Come see us at Ripple Fest Thursday, July 21st. First Las Cruces show back, supporting Cosmic Tears.
I've got Saul on CD, by the way.
Yeah, that's shit. That's how I found out about those dudes. We would do shows with them, and I was like, holy shit, these dudes are tuning down lower than us.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Mando.
Adrian, man, thanks a lot, dude.